Welcome to Wealth Echelon. Hello and welcome. A few years ago, I was exactly where you might be right now, drowning in financial information, but starving for wisdom. I'd see headlines about stocks hitting all-time highs and people making fortunes, and I felt completely stuck on the sidelines. The world of investing seemed like a complex, high-stakes game, and I was terrified of making the wrong move. That number, $100,000, felt less like a milestone and more like a fantasy. It felt like something reserved for people with six-figure salaries, inherited money, or a lucky break with a single stock. I had none of those things. What I did have was a deep desire to change my financial future and a willingness to find a system that actually worked for ordinary people. This video is the story of that system. This is not theory. This is the exact real-world playbook I used to go from a starting point of nearly zero to building a portfolio of over $100,000. And the most surprising part? I did it without picking a single stock, without trying to time the market, and without any secret financial knowledge. I did it using a simple, powerful, and frankly, boring strategy built on low-cost ETFs. Today, I'm opening up my entire playbook for you. We will walk through the three crucial phases of my journey. First, the financial cleanup, the foundational work I did before investing a single dollar. Second, the accumulation engine, where I'll reveal the exact 3 ETF portfolio I used to build my wealth. And third, the autopilot system, the automation and acceleration strategies I used to make the process effortless and reach my goal faster. This is the blueprint that changed my life. And by the end of this video, it can be yours too. First, the mandatory disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. This is my personal story and is for educational and informational purposes only. All investing involves risk. Please do your own research and consider speaking with a certified financial professional to create a plan based on your unique personal circumstances. Phase 1, the financial cleanup, my first 4 battles. Before I could even think about building wealth, I had to stop destroying it. My financial life was chaotic. I realized that investing on top of a shaky foundation was like trying to build a skyscraper on sand. So I fought and won 4 critical battles first. Battle number 1, facing the numbers, the financial audit. The first step was the hardest. I had to be brutally honest with myself about where I stood. I sat down and calculated my net worth. I listed every asset I owned, the small amount of cash in my savings, the value of my used car, and then I listed every single dollar I owed, my credit card balances, and my student loans. Subtracting my liabilities from my assets gave me a number that was, frankly, depressing. It was negative. But for the first time, I had a clear starting line. It wasn't a number to be ashamed of. It was a number to be beaten. It became my mission. Battle number 2, creating my freedom budget. I used to think budgeting was about restriction. I reframed it. My budget became my freedom plan. I adopted the simple 50-30-20 framework. 50% of my take-home pay was for my absolute needs, rent, food, utilities. 30% was for my wants, entertainment, dining out, and a non-negotiable 20% was for my future self. This 20% bucket was my war chest. It was the money I would use to win the next 2 battles. Battle number 3, the war on high-interest debt. I realized that my 22% interest credit card was a guaranteed loss that no investment could consistently overcome. I declared war. I chose the debt snowball method, starting with my smallest debt first. The psychological win of paying off that first small balance gave me an incredible surge of momentum. I took the payment from that debt and rolled it into the next one. One by one, I eliminated my high-interest consumer debt. Each victory freed up more cash flow for my war chest and felt like breaking a chain. Battle number 4, building my financial firewall, the emergency fund. I knew that life's unexpected emergencies could force me to sell my future investments at the worst possible time. To prevent this, I built a financial firewall, an emergency fund. I saved up 6 months of my essential living expenses and placed that money in a separate, high-yield savings account. This fund wasn't for investing, it was my insurance policy against chaos. It gave me the peace of mind to know that I could handle a job loss or a surprise medical bill without derailing my entire long-term plan. With these 4 battles won, my foundation was solid. I was no longer on defense. It was time to build my wealth engine. Phase 2, the accumulation engine, my 3 ETF portfolio. This is the core of the playbook. This is where I started systematically putting my money to work. My strategy was built on using tax-advantaged accounts first. My personal waterfall was simple and prioritized the best deals first. The 401k match. My first move was contributing to my company's 401k just enough to get the full employer match. This was a 100% return on my money, instantly. It was the best deal in finance, and I was not going to miss it. The Roth IRA. After securing the match, I opened a Roth IRA. As a younger person in a lower tax bracket, this account was a golden ticket. I invested after-tax money, which meant all of my growth for decades to come would be completely tax-free in retirement. Every year, my goal was to max out this account. Back to the 401k. Once my Roth IRA was maxed out for the year, I went back and increased my contributions to my 401k with whatever money I had left. Now, for the most important part, what did I actually buy inside these accounts? I didn't buy individual stocks. I built a simple, globally diversified, and incredibly powerful 3 ETF portfolio. This was my champion team. My striker, the U.S. growth engine, example VTI. My core holding was a total U.S. stock market ETF. This was my offensive powerhouse. With one share, I owned a piece of over 3,500 American companies. I wasn't betting on Apple or Amazon. I was betting on the entire U.S. economy. It's a strategy of owning the whole haystack instead of searching for the needle. My midfield, the global diversifier, example VXUS. I knew that putting all my faith in one country was a risk, so I added a total international stock market ETF. This gave me ownership in thousands of companies all across Europe, Asia, and emerging markets. It was my hedge, ensuring that if the U.S. market had a slow decade, my portfolio was still positioned to grow from success anywhere else. My defense, the defensive anchor, example BND. Finally, I added a total bond market ETF. This was my rock-solid defense. Its job wasn't to produce high returns. Its job was to provide stability when stocks were crashing. During market panic, bonds hold their value. This anchor prevented me from making emotional mistakes and gave me the dry powder to rebalance when opportunities arose. My asset allocation was aggressive, reflecting my long time horizon. I chose a 90% stocks, 10% bonds split. My specific mix was 60% VTI, 30% VXUS, and 10% BND. This plan was simple to understand, simple to implement, and incredibly effective. Phase 3, the autopilot system. Automation and acceleration. Having a great plan is useless without consistent execution. This final phase was about taking my emotions and laziness out of the equation and finding ways to supercharge my progress. First, I automated everything. This was my single most powerful habit. I set up automatic transfers from my checking account to my investment accounts the day after I got paid. Then, I set up automatic investments into my 3 ETFs according to my 60-30-10 allocation. My wealth was now being built in the background on autopilot. I never forgot to invest, and I was never tempted to time the market. Second, I rebalanced annually. Once a year, on my birthday, I would log into my accounts and check my allocation. Because stocks had grown faster, my portfolio had drifted to something like 93% stocks. I would then sell a small portion of my stock ETFs and use the proceeds to buy more of my bond ETF, bringing me back to my 90-10 target. This simple discipline forced me to systematically sell high and buy low. Finally, I obsessed over my savings rate. This was the accelerator pedal. I realized that on the journey to the first $100,000, my investment returns were helpful, but my savings rate was everything. How much I saved determined my timeline. I focused on the big wins. I kept my housing costs low, drove a modest car, and learned to cook most of my meals. I also developed a side skill that brought in extra income, and I funneled 100% of that money directly into my investments. A person saving $500 a month might take over a decade to reach 100K. By pushing my savings to over $1,500 a month, I cut that timeline down to under 5 years. The day I logged in and saw my portfolio cross the $100,000 mark for the first time was a surreal moment. There was no fireworks display, no single winning stock that got me there. It was the quiet, almost invisible result of years of consistent, automated, boring decisions. It was the proof that the system works. The path from zero to your first $100,000 is the most challenging part of the journey. It's where you do the heavy lifting, but it's also where you build the habits and the critical mass of capital that will allow the incredible power of compounding to take over. I can tell you from experience, the journey to the next $100,000 is happening dramatically faster. The snowball is finally rolling on its own. So, let's recap the playbook. Build your foundation. Audit your finances, create a budget, destroy high-interest debt, and build your emergency fund. Construct your engine. Prioritize tax-advantaged accounts and invest in a simple, globally diversified 3 ETF portfolio. Automate and accelerate. Make the process effortless with automation, rebalance annually, and relentlessly focus on your savings rate. This isn't my secret playbook anymore. It's yours. It's a proven system for building a life of freedom and choice. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This playbook is your first step. Take it now. Thank you for investing your time with me today. If this guide provided you with clarity and value, please show your support by liking the video and subscribing for more straightforward financial content. Now, go and build your future.